This junk food is so good.
Hey, you really shouldn't be eating that. That's really not good for you.
Hey, give me that back.
Hi, I'm Dr. Josh O'Donovan from the J&J Medical Group. What you saw that man eating is really not what you're supposed to eat to sustain a healthy diet and live a healthy life. What you really should be eating is 2 to 3 servings of fruit every day. This includes apples, oranges, pears, grapes. In addition, you should eat 2 to 3 servings of vegetables such as kale, spinach, and broccoli. Try to lean more towards those darker in color. Additionally, you should eat lots of whole grains for energy. These will give you lots of carbs. You can find these in cereals, breads, etc. Make sure to specialize in protein. Lean protein is best. Beans, seeds, nuts, chicken are great to eat these. It is important to stay hydrated every day, so make sure you're drinking 2 to 4 quarts of water so you can fuel energy. Make sure you eat lots of fats. Try to lean more towards unsaturated fats for like nuts and seeds are best. And make sure to eat dietary fiber to clear your digestive system. I would now like to introduce my associate, historian, statistician, Connor Lee.
Around 795 million people in the world do not have enough food to lead a healthy diet. That's 1 in 9 people in the world. The majority of malnutritious people live in developing countries where 12.9% of the population is undernourished. 1 in 6 children, or roughly 100 million in developing countries, is underweight. Almost 3 in 4 men are considered obese. 2 billion people suffer from forms of malnutrition. Malnutrition is the underlying cause of 2.6 million child deaths in the world.
Alright, I am Josh from the J&J Medical Group, and poverty is one of the major causes of malnutrition. About 1.35 million people in undeveloped countries live on about $1.25 a day. This won't get them very far. They'll spend most of their money on food and still won't be able to provide for their families. Their families will be undernourished and they won't be able to get the nutrients they need. I'd like to introduce Jackson, an associate of J&J Medical Group.
Hello, I'm Jackson. I work with the J&J Medical Group to help end malnutrition across the world. Building on what Josh said before, I'd like to introduce you guys a cycle we call the malnutrition cycle. And it's where poverty leads to malnutrition, but malnutrition also leads to poverty. You see, when a family is in poverty, they usually don't have that much money. And so all the money they do get, they would end up spending on food and medicine. And once they run out of food and medicine, they've already used all their money, so they're back in poverty.
I will present to you the history of malnutrition. Malnutrition is not only being underfed like most people think. There are different kinds of malnutritions and histories behind each and every one of them. Here are a few of the diseases and when they got spotted. Scurvy was first spotted a long time ago in the 13th century. A cure for it was first found in James Lind in the 1740s. He discovered that citrus fruits protected you from scurvy. Though when he figured this out, he did not know what the protective substance was. Obesity is actually a type of malnutrition. The USA first started screenings in the 1930s. Obesity just started to get big around the 1980s. The rate of obesity was 13.4%, but as of 2011, the number skyrocketed to 34.9%. According to the source from Syngenta, food deserts are a major problem. Food deserts are when grocery stores aren't put up in poorer areas, so people would rather travel short distances to unhealthy stores than long distances to healthy stores, causing them to be unhealthy and undernourished.
I'll now inform you guys on some environmental causes of malnutrition. First is drought. Drought is when over a long period of time, there's a humongous lack of water. And obviously, without water, life cannot be sustained. Natural disasters such as tornadoes, hurricanes, and typhoons also impact food greatly and food sources by destroying them. And when help cannot be reached in time, people become malnourished. Deforestation is also a big cause of malnutrition. When trees are uprooted, they cause erosion because they're used to hold the ground in place, causing land to become unusable for farming. Desertification is caused by deforestation and is when land becomes unfertile for farming and pretty much just becomes desert. And poor farming practices, lastly, is one of the leading causes of malnutrition, is when people don't farm correctly and use their procedures correctly and their crops die because they do not have the proper amount of nourishment.
Talk about the effects on the human body from malnutrition. So overnutrition will cause obesity and extra fat will be stored around organs and organs can fail. Undernutrition can cause a loss in mass because the body will use its body fat as the last source of energy, and wounds won't heal effectively. An example of a disease related to malnutrition is beriberi. There are two types of beriberi, wet beriberi and dry beriberi. Wet beriberi causes circulatory system to fail, and dry beriberi causes damage to the nervous system and creates lots of pain.
So to go off what Dr. Josh Tate said, there are serious short and long-term effects that can result from malnutrition. One particular disease that sticks out is marasmus, which can have lots of short-term implications. Marasmus results from a lack of protein and calorie intake, and generally people with the condition are 80% lower in body fat than the average person their age. They're constantly hungry and just can't think straight. Iron deficiency is also a short-term problem that can be a precursor to malnutrition. It can result in exhaustion, fatigue, and possible migraines, which is very serious. Kwashiorkor can have long-term implications. It results from a lack of protein, and having kwashiorkor can cause stunted growth, which can be permanent, coma, shock, or even death if left untreated. The obvious way to treat this is to consume lots of protein, mainly through turkey, chicken, meats, nuts, beans, etc. Another long-term effect of malnutrition is anemia. While it's different from sickle cell anemia, malnutrition anemia is linked with heart issues, pregnancy complications, and inability to produce red blood cells, similar to sickle cell anemia. If left untreated, death is a possibility. Some more diseases which can cause long-term effects. Beriberi, which generally results from unenriched white rice areas, to go off what Josh said. Scurvy, which is vitamin C deficiency, and that results from not having fruit or vegetables. And a loss of appetite, fever, bleeding gums, brittle bones result from scurvy. And obviously these all can be treated with the consumption of fruits and vegetables. A big effect of malnutrition, which is short and long term, is a failing immune system. Failing immunity is, as a consequence of malnutrition, is a leading cause of death in children and adults in all countries, specifically developing countries. In developing countries, it happens to be the top cause of death. Nutrition-related AIDS, not from HIV, deaths exceed 15 million per year, which is 7 times as much as HIV/AIDS-linked deaths. AIDS is acquired immune deficiency syndrome. Lots of people think that you can only get it from HIV, but you can actually acquire it from lots of sources. It basically just means your immune system's not working. With AIDS, people are more prone to diseases such as measles, tuberculosis, and these can be life-threatening conditions. So a part of a solution to malnutrition is GMOs. GMOs, while controversial, are very helpful in providing more food to people around the world. There are several examples of crops that have been genetically modified that have been successful. Just to name a few, golden rice, which is where rice is inserted with vitamin A and fed to children and all adults in developing countries, and this can prevent blindness, and it helps to save upwards of 2 million people a year who normally wouldn't have gotten vitamin A. Transgenic corn is resistant to insects, so farmers no longer have to devote money to pesticides and therefore can grow more food and provide more food to more people. Roundup Ready crops made by Monsanto are resistant to the pesticide Roundup and, the herbicide Roundup. And so farmers use Roundup, and normally it would have damaged all crops, but now with Roundup Ready crops that are resistant to Roundup, the desired crops aren't damaged in the process. Finally, a not as successful crop, which has been widely used by farmers, are high value crops, which are high demand crops. So while lots of people want them, the prices can be high, so it's not always a direct cure to malnutrition.
I now have for you many environmental causes and their solutions. As I said earlier, natural disasters such as droughts, tornadoes, and hurricanes. Obviously, we can't predict the weather, or we can predict the weather, but we can't control it. But we are able to prepare for it. You can now genetically modify organisms to help be drought resistant, so they can hold water longer and stay living longer. And as for deforestation, desertification, and poor farming practices, that's just human error, and that is what we need to fix ourselves and just help prevent against it and help realize that it's obviously not helping and we need to help go against it. And I also have some personal experience with food drives through multiple organizations that we also help reach out to people who have been affected by natural disasters or poor farming practices and they aren't able to get food to themselves. So food drives reach out to many people and they help make a lot of different people's lives much better.
Yeah, so just to give a couple more solutions about how to stop malnutrition. Yeah, so while there isn't one defined solution to cure malnutrition, I mean, after all, it's been going on since man walked Earth. Some things you can do in your daily lives is try to educate people about a healthy diet. I mean, a lot of people are unaware about what truly comprises a healthy diet, and so they eat without really knowing what's going into their body. According to a source of Syngenta, SNAP, which is the food stamp bill, it now allows people to buy fresh fruits and veggies from farmers markets, which is very good for people's nutrition, as they no longer have to settle for lower class foods. Also, we can encourage exercise. The more people exercise, the less chance they have of obesity, and therefore the less chance of malnutrition. Do your best to encourage GMOs. Like, while they're controversial, they clearly make a difference, and more food can be provided to more people. And finally, try to get government support. I mean, the more people talking about it, the more people will support it, and hopefully will try to make a difference.
Malnutrition needs to end. Make a change!